It is a gearless reducer that slows down an RPM without needing any friction. Does not make any contact with each other, making it almost the most effective gear we had ever discovered. This is the story of how me and Flat found it. The game changer reducer. It is 2020 when I was trying to make a boat that uses a human rowing motion. I was not that smart that day. I've never even met Flat or have any interest in mechanics. I tried so hard figuring things out, but then this happened. Instead of a rowing motion, the output rotates 2 times slower than the input. I know nothing that day. Why is the rotation 2 times slower than the input? Try to check every single motor to check if it's already unpowered, but no. Every single motor is either locked or unpowered. The only powered motor is at the input. I'm not planning to make that in the past, so I got really frustrated and the project was eventually abandoned. It is only after 2 years later I realized it serves a more important purpose, a gearless reducer. But how come I just realized it now? Well, it's because of Vlad. I told him about the rowing boat file I made before in the past. He was interested, but eventually, as the time passes, the idea got forgotten as well. One day he was at a university. In the lab, he sees these weird mechanisms that uses this plus shape in the output of the rotation. By the looks of it, when he rotates the lever, it will move these small cylinders and then move the output. But then he noticed that the output rotates 2 times slower than the lever that he's spinning. This immediately reminds him of a mechanism similar like my reducer. Both had a similar ways to transfer the rotation to the output, which if you notice, the output is placed slightly outwards from the input rotation. After seeing such a mechanism, he finally got back home and made the actual reducer in plain crazy. Somehow it works better as well. Not just that, you might notice that this gear uses 2 different physical objects making contact with each other. Because of this, the gear could be used for high-speed vehicles. However, it might not be as simple as it is. This gear itself has advantages and disadvantages. Even if it could run at high speeds, remember that this gear uses 2 different objects making contact, which means the cylinder in the gear could glitch through each other in the height force. Before he uses the gear too much, he noticed that the cylinder follows a certain linear path. And guess the next thing that happens? This gear now becomes frictionless. No need to use collisions anymore for the gear. Now the rotation is guaranteed to not slip at any force made. Because of this, the gear is perfect to be used in high-load vehicles. But remember, if a gear uses any unpowered motors, those will limit the speed of the rotation in the unpowered motor. But still question remains, what advantage that you think really makes this gear a real game changer for playing crazy? Now before we get into that point, let's once again look at the 2-to-1 gear that Flat made. In this gear, it looks like a normal gear, right? But watch what happens when I spin the gear. See it? Alright, once again. Now you see it? Yes. If this gear looks like it's a good gear to be used, the problem is that this big gear is not perfectly circled. Now some of you might be wondering what's up with it. Now if you look back once again to how lever works, the longer the lever, the more the torque in the output, which means the shorter the lever, the more distance it will travel. This is exactly what happened to the gear we made. Each cylinder got different offsets, which makes an unstable movement in every one rotation, different from the gear that we just saw. You can see that the rotation is constant here. Not just that, this rotation is also a reducer. This constant RPM is what makes this little gear something else. Like when you're trying to put this gear into your vehicle, With a slightly unstable RPM, this could reduce grip from your wheel by the sudden slight acceleration and deceleration made by the gear's output. Now, compared when using the Neo reducer, it will eventually create a smooth RPM to your wheels, which also increases the grip to the road. For a much clearer evidence, let's compare these two wheels on the screen from the start to the end of the road. Both powered motor in the gear input will rotate at the exact same speed. As you can see, the new reducer slightly made it first and both wheel is still at the same angle. This reducer not also a gear changer, but it's an example of how simple and stupid things you made in the past could become the most important things in the future. I think that's it for the vid. For those who have not subscribed yet, consider subscribing to the channel to support me for any other future vids like these in the future. Yeah, it's free, so feel free about it. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.